Jason, let's talk about how coin payments works first and foremost.
Well, coin payments is similar to a payment gateway platform that you might think of traditionally from a Visa or MasterCard. The difference is that our gateway technology solution supports merchants with accepting crypto as a form of payment.
Merchants being, what kind of merchants are we talking about? Are we talking about like DeFi merchants, or we're talking about vendors that everyday consumers can use?
Everyday consumers and DeFi, of course. But the majority of our clients that we service around the world are regular merchants. The likes of groups that use Shopify or things like Live Nation or many other types of merchants that are traditional merchants selling their products or services online and or at their retail store as well.
I want to talk about your platform and the coin that is being used the most in terms of transactions. What is the coin with the largest trading volume, or transaction volume, should I say?
Sure. Well, in the transaction side, we're still seeing the largest transaction volumes in Bitcoin. There is a transition we're seeing into more stable coins like USDT, which is, last January, we saw about 5 to 10% transactions in USDT, and now we're seeing much more higher, something such like 25% or higher. Bitcoin used to be around 90%, and today we're seeing it around 50 to 52%. And in similar businesses that we know of, other groups similar to coin payments, we're seeing the same and hearing the same kind of numbers. So, I think the numbers have changed rapidly this year with regards to transactions specifically.
Okay. There's two main arguments I've heard from critics against using Bitcoin as a form of payment, and I'd like to address both of them. The first being that Bitcoin is too slow and inefficient.
Inefficiency is what expectations are, right? So when I want to make a payment and I know that payment's going to go through, I tend to use Bitcoin, because it's quick, it's immediate. I don't have a lot of transactional fees, et cetera. And I have a lot of confidence in when that payment is going to go through. At the same time, we're also seeing more interest in other blockchains where people are seeing faster transaction times. Just recently, one of our big clients asked us to ensure that we had Solana USDT added. So Solana is another blockchain. The USDT side of it allows for much reduced transaction fees, and the transactions are much quicker as well. So in some cases, I believe that we're going to start seeing other blockchains and other currencies, more stable coins, perhaps even more usage of CBDCs as they start to get distributed and the community start having access to it.
Okay. Well, what about the argument that Bitcoin intrinsically should be used as a store of value and not as a currency? I've heard some proponents of Bitcoin say that you should really hold it because eventually it'll go up in value.
Yeah, you know what? I think the challenge with that is that if you look at the original white paper of Satoshi, it wasn't meant to be used as a store of value. I think today we have the investment communities. Obviously, the value of Bitcoin has spiked significantly, and there's a lot of speculation around the increase of value of Bitcoin. So if I'm going to make a purchase right now and I think, well, Bitcoin's going to go up 10% in the next day, I probably won't make a purchase with Bitcoin. At the same time, if I'm only holding Bitcoin and I want to make a purchase with crypto, I have to either sell my Bitcoin to convert it to, say, USDT, or I have to have already holding another currency in order to make that transaction using crypto. So I think in relationship to many things in the past, such as, say, gold or silver, if you're holding silver, are you going to make a transaction in silver when you think the value is going to go up, or are you going to convert it to your local fiat currency? Either way, you're selling it. So either way, you're still completing that transaction using your asset. So, I think that's the area that we're going to see some changes. More people will be issued things like CBDCs and or stable currencies. And as they have that, they'll start using that and then investing part of their, part of that avenue or that venue that they have into other currencies.
Okay. One last argument I'd like you to address. This is what Elon Musk said in an interview with Time magazine. He said that the transaction value of Bitcoin is low and the cost per transaction is high. At least at a space level, it is suitable as a store of value, but fundamentally, Bitcoin is not a good substitute for transactional currency. And he said that even though it was created as a silly joke, Dogecoin is better suited for transactions. So how would you respond to that?
Well, I think Elon is a great promoter. He's been incredibly successful in the businesses and the projects that he's been involved with. I think Dogecoin represents an opportunity that, I would say hundreds of other currencies or cryptos like Doge actually represent. Other platforms that are out there, I mentioned Solana, USDT, or even USDT or USDC, or many other coins that are out there are actually much stronger and much better for currencies to be used as a transaction or transfer value. Difficulty is what's the community? If you have 5 million people who have Bitcoin around the world, you have a community of 5 million people who have Bitcoin to spend. If you only have 10,000 people who have Dogecoin, who's the community? So, and Doge is also a very volatile crypto as well. So if the person is holding Doge, are they speculating on the price of Doge as well? Yes, they are. If Doge was stable at $1, say, for example, then I think Doge would have a much better, stronger argument to saying, yes, would be a better transaction piece. But I think stable currencies are ultimately the best.
I read somewhere that in a survey done, millennials are the group that has as a group, they have the highest level of mistrust for traditional financial banking systems out of any existing age group. And the younger you go, actually, the higher that level of mistrust. So what's the correlation there between age and I guess your sentiment towards traditional finance?
I don't know that it's mistrust. I think it's a similar thing as, probably when we grew up, finances are not taught in schools, right? The educational element of what a bank is, my son who's 13 doesn't know, right? He doesn't know what a bank is. What he knows is on his technology that he's playing with and his social media that he's on every day and the Fortnite that he plays, that he can buy and sell credits within his Fortnite instantly. He doesn't have to go to a bank. He doesn't need to go and learn about a credit card. So I think the financial element of things are changing rapidly, generationally, for sure, and in that market, you're going to identify, I identify anyways, that their demand of instant payments, instant exchange of value, tradability within their digital platforms is going to be where the future is.
Okay, so let's take someone like your son, for example. He's 13 right now. He's just learning about cryptocurrencies and I guess the basics of finance. In 10 years, he'll be in his early 20s. What's going to happen in 10 years? How much of his daily life is going to be transacted with cryptos, you think?
I think 100% will be transacted with crypto and or with digital currency. A digital form of transaction will be 100% of his life, for sure.
Yeah, you're talking about digital currencies outside of fiat, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information. And it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
Okay, so that leads to the next point, which is regulation.
You know what, I have challenges with that for a few different reasons. One is that I come from a traditional way of payments. So things such as barter platforms, for example, that have been around for 30 years, digital barter platforms. And these digital platforms have provided merchants, buyers, sellers, et cetera, to exchange and trade value between each other. And the currency that they're using to trade is their assets or their work or their service. Now, if you use crypto, which is simply the record of that transaction, the individual, you and I, for example, decide to trade value, and you're holding Bitcoin, and I'm going to be providing you a service. I'm going to be selling you a product. I'm exchanging that value with you, and we're basically using a barter dollar, which in this way is Bitcoin. So it's a digital form of transaction that's recorded on a blockchain that's saying you and I are deciding to transfer value between each other. I'm just using Bitcoin as that record of transfer value rather than a dollar, rather than a Canadian dollar, rather than a euro dollar, or rather than, say, gold or silver. So in my view, there isn't any true difference in the fact that you and I have made an agreement together and that record of measurement, that record of transaction value is recorded. And that might be Bitcoin, that might be Ethereum, that might be XRP, whatever that method of transaction of value is, this is now recorded and accepted between you and myself.
How do you differentiate between what we're doing now and the metaverse? I mean, I'm speaking to you through a digital medium. Yeah. So what's the difference between this and a metaverse?
I think where things are moving to, it'll give you more interaction and more personal feeling. So when you put on a Google or a sort of an Oculus, say, right? Yeah. So you and I are both wearing Oculuses and we're actually standing in the same room.
I see.
It gives us the sense of that feeling, that involvement and that participation, where this is very 2D right now. We're looking at each other perhaps, but we're not really feeling like we're in the same space. And there's a number of platforms that are out there today that I think are involving that. And going back to my 13-year-old, he already lives in that world. He expects that.
Okay. And so once we're in that virtual reality, that metaverse that you described, how will that lifestyle involve cryptocurrencies?
Well, I think the fact is cryptos, NFTs, smart contracts that allow for the exchange of value within that digital world is how it's going to be. There isn't going to be fiat exchange within those digital worlds. It will be a crypto or a digital currency within that world that you'll exchange value.
What's the dominant currency going to be? Dogecoin?
I have a feeling it won't be Dogecoin, but I have a feeling that each metaverse will probably have a dominant currency within each world. And then you'll have platforms that will allow for interoperability.
That's interesting. So you're kind of like how nations operate now. We have different currency blocks, and then we have an exchange through that commercial space. That's interesting. Okay.
I have a feeling that it's exactly how it'll be. Is within those areas, there'll be a dominant coin or usage. Of course, there'll be sub coins and things like that, but your dominant will be in each metaverse, and you'll have FX providers that will do that interoperability within the middle.
Well, what will these different metaverses be delineated by? They won't be separated by national borders, right? There'll be blocks of different themes, right? What will these different themes be, you think?
Well, I mean, I think you're going to see things like you're seeing already from Meta, for example, right? Meta is global, has billions of users, and they'll have different types of worlds. But of course, there's different people's interests. You know, there is the gaming spaces, and the gaming spaces will be people who are in there specifically for that gaming experience and that gaming environment. Everybody has different desires and interests, right? So if I want to go, say, hiking in Brazil or somewhere like that, and I want to go put on my Oculus and get in this space, and I feel like I'm actually hiking through those spaces, or maybe I'm flying in the sky, giving myself that feeling, I might be going on a tour and a travel metaverse where I'm experiencing 3D vision of travel. So I think that you're going to see different experiences in different universes.
So I could go on going by your example, I could go on a travel metaverse, and then when I'm done with that, I could take the coins from that metaverse, exchange it for an esports metaverse, and then use a token from that esports metaverse and go play a game in that metaverse, right?
That's right, exactly.
Okay, well, that should be an interesting space to follow.
Do you want to know one thing about crypto? I made over 3,000% in profit in a few weeks. Fact is, the traditional financial system, the traditional money system makes you poor, not rich. If you want to earn $500,000, $1 million, you have to wait until you're 50, 60, 70 in the traditional financial system, and you probably will still be broke. And you will be old. This is not a sexy combination, as you can imagine. But the question is, how can you start in crypto and make these profits? Where to invest? Where to start? My name is Gunnar, and I'm from Germany, as you can hear, and things are a little bit different in Germany. More about that later on. Fact is, there are lots of different cryptocurrencies. It's a gigantic universe where beginners and professionals get easily lost. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. There are 7 key steps you need to follow to become successful in this market. You have to know them, and if you fail one of them, it's literally impossible to succeed in this market. Just an example, one of the key points is your exchange, and one of the biggest are, for example, Binance and Coinbase. These are trusted and well-established exchanges, but, and this is a big but, you won't find the super profitable coins on those exchanges. The unknown super profitable coins that get gigantic profits are not traded on those kind of exchanges. They are traded on much smaller insider platforms that are barely known. And I can tell you what those super secret exchanges are and why they are so profitable. And another super important thing are the right information sources. The point is, the internet is gigantic. There are hundreds and hundreds of YouTube channels, blogs, pages, and much more. And there are also market makers and influencers. For example, Elon Musk, he is not a crypto guy, but the moment he recommended Dogecoin, it went through the roof, to the moon, so to say. But why did he recommend it? Where did he hear it from? He didn't hear it from newspapers. And believe me, he is listening to someone. But you have to know who, and you have to react before he is reacting. This is really, really important. And these are only 2 of the 7 steps you have to follow in order to be successful in crypto. And if you want to know all of these steps in much more detail, and if you want to have a comprehensive checklist, here's what you should do. There is a link below this video. Click on this link and you will get the opportunity to subscribe to my channel. Click on the link and you will see a video where I explain the next steps. So see you soon. Click on the link now. I'll see you there.